Mr. Chris D'Souza.
Question 14, sir.
May I have your permission to take questions 14 to 18 together?
Please do.
Thank you, sir. The business model of an integrated resort, or IR, combines a controlled proportion of gaming activities with a wide range of high-quality, non-gaming amenities, such as theatres, theme parks, museums, hotels, MICE facilities, restaurants, and retail shops. Gaming activities are an important source of revenue for the operators, contributing more than 2/3 of their total revenue. The gaming revenue makes it commercially viable for them to offer the non-gaming facilities as one integrated package. The two IRs have not decided to activate their additional gaming options. If both IRs exercise their options for additional gaming area in full, gaming area as a proportion of total floor area will drop from 3% today to 2.3%, as the expansion of non-gaming area is much larger. The IRs have also stated that the additional gaming provisions will be targeted at higher tier, non-mass market players who are mostly tourists. Based on the gambling participation survey conducted by the National Council on Problem Gambling, the probable problem and pathological gambling rate of Singapore residents has decreased from 2.6% in 2011 to 0.9% in 2017. And this includes all forms of gambling, such as casino, horse racing, and online gambling. The government takes a serious view on tackling problem gambling and will continue to work closely with our community partners to help affected individuals and families. We had discussed with them before making the announcement. The government will also be strengthening our social safeguards. Minister Desmond Lee has explained how we are doing so in his reply to Mr. Seah Kian Peng. So the 9 billion investment by the two IRs will introduce additional world-class attractions and experiences for both tourists and locals. And these are expected to attract an additional 500,000 international visitors each year and contribute $500 million annually to Singapore's economy. The investments will also create up to 5,000 new jobs directly and increase business opportunities for Singapore companies. When there are substantial investments that can benefit our economy and our workers, the government is open to directly allocate land to these investors. This is a long-standing policy that has been extended to both local and foreign companies across different industries. The IRs will pay fair market value for their land, as determined by the Chief Valuer in accordance with market conditions and established valuation principles. The expansion site for Marina Bay Sands is 3.3 hectares at a cost of $1.3 billion. Resorts World Sentosa has set aside a budget of $1 billion to intensify the use of existing land and purchase around 1 hectare of new land. If the IRs choose to activate their options for additional gaming area, they will have to pay additional costs for these areas. The amount payable will be determined by the Chief Valuer based on prevailing market conditions when the option is exercised. Sir, Mr. Gan asked about funding for healthcare needs. As the Minister for Finance had explained at Budget 2018 and Budget 2019, Singapore's healthcare spending will rise with an aging population and advances in medical treatment, drugs, and technologies. We need to be well prepared for this by building additional healthcare capacity and ensuring that we have sufficient financial resources to fund the higher healthcare spending in a sustainable manner. And this will require a structural increase in our operating revenue. Our revenue base is diverse and resilient, including taxes on personal and corporate income, consumption, and property. The tax revenue from the two IRs are one of the many sources of the overall tax revenue. The diverse sources of revenue is supported by a diversified economy. And as we continue to grow Singapore's economy, we will adopt a multi-pronged strategy with many different sectors and trading partners. Thank you, sir.
Associate Professor Daniel Goh.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Thank you, SMS. My question is regarding the gaming areas. So am I correct to say that if the gaming area is not expanded, then the world-class attractions will be projected to be loss-making?
Sir, I thank the member for his supplementary question. The IR business model, as I explained in my answer, means it's an integrated package. You need the gaming activities to come together with the non-gaming activities so that it's commercially viable for the operators. And currently, more than 2/3 of their total revenue comes from gaming. So for the new facilities, the theme parks, the 15,000-seater arena, these are expensive facilities which, without the gaming provisions, the additional gaming provisions as options for the operators, they may not find it commercially viable to make these additional investments to create these additional jobs. And this was actually explained by the CEO of MBS. And I quote him, he said, "The casino revenue generation is very important because it pays for things that sometimes lose money, sometimes have a very low return, or that are just very expensive," unquote. Thank you, sir.
Mr. Dennis Tan.
Clarify with the SMS, Mr. Speaker. On the second part of my question, prior to the approvals, were any stakeholders consulted in respect of the possible social implications on Singaporeans arising from the proposed increases, and if so, who are these stakeholders? Okay. May I ask the SMS to answer the question? Thank you.
Sir, we had engaged the National Council on Problem Gambling and also key stakeholders from religious groups and voluntary welfare organizations before the announcement was made. And these are our key partners because they are the people who are on the ground dealing with the issue of problem gambling, helping the families and the affected individuals. And when we discussed with them, they told us that they understood why we had to do this in a package. They welcome the additional social safeguards that the government will be introducing. And more importantly, I think there was a commitment that we should continue to work together, hand in hand, to help tackle the problem of gambling, including online gambling, new types of risks facing Singaporeans. And we work hand in hand, we work together to help the affected individuals and their families. Thank you.
Mr. Dennis Tan.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Just one last clarification. Were there any objections or reservations expressed by any of these stakeholders, and if so, who were they?
So I think I've explained in my answer earlier. They understood why we had to do this as a package. They noted that the rate of problem gambling has been coming down. But as Minister Desmond Lee explained, just because the rate has come down does not mean that we therefore become complacent. We continue to take a serious view on how we can tackle this problem together. So the community partners, the religious groups, the voluntary welfare groups, said that they welcome the additional social safeguards, the increase in the levy, the additional safeguards. And importantly, I think we need to continue to work together to tackle this problem hand in hand.
Mr. Gantiampo.
SMA, actually, I don't think my question is being answered. How do you determine the land cost? Because this is without tender. And second question is that what is the projected revenue for the additional investments? Is there any projection? Thank you.
So I have answered the question actually. Land cost will be determined by the chief valuer based on the market value. And this is again a long-standing practice. The IRs will pay the fair market value as determined by the chief valuer. The second part of the question, of course, we made some projections in terms of with the increase in the number of visitors, the tourists, what is the additional value add to Singapore's economy? I mentioned a number, 500 million annually. But the exact number depends also on the global economy, depends on how well we grow our tourism sector. Because, mind you, IRRs are not the only thing that we're going to develop to grow our tourism sector. We also have Mandai. We also have the Greater Southern Waterfront. We're going to rejuvenate Orchard Road. We are looking at a new tourism site at Jurong Lake District, and many others.